For the past few weeks, one specific Apple rumor has been quietly spreading through the tech world, and now it's picking up real momentum. Multiple leaks and supply chain chatter are pointing to Apple launching a new budget iPhone called the iPhone 17e, likely in a spring release window. On the surface, that sounds like great news. A more affordable iPhone is usually a win, but the more you break down what the iPhone 17e is rumored to be, the stranger this release starts to feel. Not because it will be a bad phone. Apple rarely makes truly bad iPhones. It feels confusing. Because it looks like overlap disguised as a new product. So in this video, let's slow down and actually analyze the iPhone 17e rumors, what it's expected to offer, why Apple might be doing it, who it's supposed to be for, and why it could end up hurting Apple's lineup more than helping it. Because if the leaks are accurate, the iPhone 17e doesn't feel like innovation. It feels like a phone that exists to fill a price slot. Even if it doesn't make sense next to the iPhones Apple already sells. Let's start with the basics. What the iPhone 17e is. Rumored to include, before criticizing anything, we need to get the rumored iPhone 17e specs on the table. Based on current reports, industry whispers, and insider commentary, the iPhone 17e is expected to come with a 6.1-inch OLED display, dynamic island support, the newer A19-chip, a single rear camera, a design that looks very similar to previous or budget-style models, likely no MagSafe, a 60Hz refresh rate, minor efficiency improvements, limited color options, and that's basically the story. No major redesign, no second camera, no high refresh rate, no bold new hardware feature that changes the day-to-day experience. If the rumors are right, the headline upgrades are essentially dynamic island plus a newer chip. Everything else sounds like recycled strategy. And that's the first red flag, because Apple's budget iPhone needs a clear reason to exist. Right now, the iPhone 17e's reason looks blurry, while the iPhone 17e feels unnecessary. Here's the core problem. Product overlap. Apple already sells iPhones that sit dangerously close to this rumored iPhone 17e in both price and capability. And once you compare them side by side, the iPhone 17e starts to feel redundant. Let's talk about the obvious comparison. The standard iPhone model from the previous year, a recent non-Pro iPhone, already delivers most of what mainstream buyers want. A high-quality, old screen, strong battery life, great cameras for everyday shooting, a premium build, years of software updates, performance. That is already beyond what most people need. So what does the iPhone 17e actually do better? If it's mainly, it has the A19 chip. That sounds impressive in a spec sheet, but it's not a meaningful value upgrade for the audience that buys budget iPhones. And that leads to the biggest misunderstanding in Apple's budget strategy. A18 versus a 19, the performance upgrade most budget buyers won't feel. Let's be honest about how budget iPhone buyers actually use their phones. Most people shopping for a lower-priced iPhone are doing things like scrolling social media, watching YouTube, Netflix, and TikTok, taking photos of family, food, and vacations, messaging on WhatsApp, iMessage, and Instagram, using navigation and rideshare apps, video calls, basic work apps like email, notes, documents, and calendar. For that lifestyle, last year's chip is not good enough. It's already overkill. So yes, the A19 will almost certainly benchmark faster. It may be more efficient. It may be better for certain AI features. But in real-world daily usage, an average buyer is not going to pick up an iPhone 17e and say, wow, this feels totally different. The performance ceiling is not what's limiting budget phones anymore. Value is hardware. Features people can feel every single day are what matter. Display smoothness, camera flexibility, battery stability, in real-life charging convenience, accessories, durability, storage. Value per dollar, and the rumors suggest the iPhone 17e is still holding back in exactly those areas. The MagSafe problem. Cutting the feature that actually adds value if Apple really wants to sell an affordable iPhone without making it feel cheap. Removing MagSafe is one of the worst ways to do it, because MagSafe isn't just a charging thing. It's an entire ecosystem. Magnetic chargers that snap perfectly into place wall attachment scar mounts that don't require ugly clamps battery. Packs, desk stands, tripod, accessories, everyday convenience you don't appreciate until you've used it. When Apple removes MagSafe to protect product segmentation, it doesn't make the phone budget. It makes the phone feel artificially limited. And that's a perception problem. A brand new phone should not feel less convenient than an older model sitting on the same shelf. If the iPhone 17 East launches without MagSafe again, the internet won't just complain. Reviews will compare it to older iPhones and say, the cheaper iPhone is missing features the older phone has. That is not the kind of narrative Apple wants around a new product. The 60 Hz display problem. In 2026, this looks out of touch now. Let's talk about the refresh rate. If the iPhone 17e really ships with a 60 Hz display in 2026, that's going to be one of the biggest review complaints. Guaranteed. Because the difference between 60 Hz and 120 Hz is not a tech nerd detail anymore. It's instantly visible. Even people who don't know what refresh rate means will say, why does this phone feel less smooth than my friend's phone? Why does this cheaper Android scroll smoother? Why does Apple still do this? Apple can argue that iOS animations are optimized, and they are, but smoothness is smoothness. Once you've seen a good 120 Hz oldie, it's hard to go back, especially when competitors offer high refresh rate displays at lower prices. So if Apple wants the iPhone 17e to feel modern, a 60 Hz panel makes it feel like it's stuck in the past the moment you touch it. And this matters because the E model is supposed to be the iPhone for normal people. Normal people absolutely notice display smoothness. The camera situation. A single lens isn't budget? It's restrictive. A single rear camera can still take good photos. Apple's processing is excellent, but camera hardware is about flexibility, not just quality. A dual camera system doesn't just add more megapixels. It adds options. A true ultra-wide perspective, more creative shots, better travel photos, more versatility for video, more value for the money. If the iPhone 17 East is priced anywhere near the mid-range iPhone territory, shipping it with one rear camera starts to feel like Apple is selling limitations, not savings. And again, older models become the awkward comparison. Why would I buy the new one with one camera when the older one has two? That's the overlap problem all over again. The real reason the iPhone 17e exists, pricing and psychologies. Why would Apple do this? The most likely explanation is psychological pricing. Apple wants a new iPhone at a certain entry price, something that looks current in stores, keeps the lineup fresh, and gives buyers a simple choice. This one is the newest affordable iPhone. That's powerful, but it gets complicated the second older iPhones start dropping in price, because in the real world, people don't buy iPhones in a perfect Apple pricing chart. They buy iPhones on sale. They buy them through carriers. They buy them refurbished. They buy them during holiday promotions. They buy last year's model because it's $100 cheaper and comes with more features. And this is where the iPhone 170 could get squeezed out, because if an older standard iPhone becomes discounted into the same price zone, the iPhone 170 can instantly become the worst value in Apple's own store lineup. Not because it's terrible, because it's positioned awkwardly. A new chip doesn't automatically mean better value. Apple has trained people to see the newest chip as the biggest upgrade.